Well. Welcome to the 30. I am your host, Patrick. Certainly glad that you decided to join us on today. What a beautiful day it is. A beautiful day to have the 30, episode 147. I'm getting excited, folks. I am getting excited because we are 3 episodes away from our celebration. We are 3 weeks, 3 episodes from 150, and also celebrating our third 3 year anniversary. So I hope you decide to join us on May 25th. So make sure you mark it in your calendar. May 25th is when we will actually celebrate. And I hope that you are with us because we have some great things in store for you. We have some giveaways, t-shirts, mugs. So we have a lot of different things, and we have great people coming on, some previous guests. And I'm hoping also to get some of our viewers and listeners on. So it's going to be a celebration. Make sure that you share, tell someone, be here, because we're just going to have fun. Bring your celebration, your choskis, your whatever you have. Show up, be here, because we're going to have fun. If you are joining us for the first time, thank you for the opportunity, giving us the opportunity to be part of your world. And what we do with the 30, this is a weekly broadcast where we provide valuable information. We have great guests on, and the goal is basically to provide you with valuable information to help you enhance your personal, professional, spiritual, and business lives. So thank you for being with us once again. Last week we had a great show. We had a wonderful guest on, Shannon Malkin Daniels, and she talked to us about some of the lessons she's learned as an entrepreneur. And it was a fantastic show. So make sure that you go to our YouTube channel. You can catch all of our shows, and it is under the Jackman Group LLC. Make sure you go there, YouTube, the Jackman Group LLC, and you will find all of our shows listed there. Right now, we're live. We're broadcasting live to LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as YouTube. And if you're catching this in replay, make sure that you drop us a line. So, very special guests this evening, this morning, wherever you are watching us from. I had the opportunity to be on her podcast, and she is under 30. So I'm not going to waste any more time because I know she's excited to bring you the information. She is an entrepreneur, an award-winning accountant, best-selling author, a TEDx speaker, a business coach, and she believes, here's the thing, right? She believes that the key to happiness lies in entrepreneurship. So we're going to talk to her about that. So let's welcome to the 30, Tatiana. Tatiana, thank you for being here. I appreciate you deciding to join us on the 30.
Thanks so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
So tell our viewers and listeners really who you are, what you do. I gave them some background of your bio, but let's go in depth and tell us about who you are and what's the backstory to you.
Well, who I am is I'm many things, among them a mom, a wife, a woman, a human, right? But my first profession kind of was a lawyer. For 2 years, I've studied law in Belarus, which is where I'm from. Kind of has been my dream to be a lawyer for many years, and I've even went to study it. But when I moved to the US, what I realized was that you have to first get your bachelor's degree. And so that's kind of what I did. And somewhere along the way, as I was getting my bachelor's, I decided to really pick a major that will allow me to support myself financially, because there's nobody else to support me. And so I picked accounting for that reason. I picked accounting because it was a skill as opposed to just a degree. And so picked accounting and decided to figure out the law school afterwards. And so somewhere along the way, I fell in love with numbers. I fell in love with small business because I was learning the accounting principles at night, and then I was applying them at work the next day because I worked as a bookkeeper. And so for me, it was an instant connection between theory and practice, and it really highlighted how businesses make decisions. Some of them using numbers, some not so much. And so we also kind of got students alongside me kind of got brainwashed a little bit, because the professors used to say, well, if you're studying accounting, if you're majoring in accounting, you might as well sit for the CPA exam. And I thought, okay, I might as well. And so kind of all of that together kind of allowed me to fall in love with numbers and small business. And really, I was sort of forced into being an entrepreneur by the circumstances. My full-time job could not tolerate me leaving early, sometimes for school or coming in late or whatever. And so I left the job, and I found 4 or 5 different small businesses where they didn't need somebody full-time. They needed somebody for a day, a week, or 2 days a week, or half a day, or whatever. And so that kind of worked out to be my first business. It taught me a lot of really good time management skills. As an accountant, I learned a lot from different businesses. I saw how different CEOs, business owners operate, how they make decisions. And I've been privy to the most intimate part of it, which is finances. And so fast forward 18 years, today I already have quite a few years of experience under my belt, have a lot of knowledge, have a lot of expertise in small business. And I really believe that the only way to be truly free in life is to be an entrepreneur.
So that's where that came from, huh? So, okay, that's pretty bold, that the key to happiness or freedom is in entrepreneurship. That's fantastic, because I do believe that part of entrepreneurship brings about the freedom, right? But we all know that as entrepreneurs, it's just not, let's say, bed of roses. Right? There's a little bit more to it, a struggle, right? So let's talk about, so you on your bio, you says you're an award-winning accountant. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's take each piece of your bio and expand upon it, because I want people to know who you really are as a person. And I know some of your story because we've talked about it, but let our viewers and listeners know more. Award-winning accountant.
Yeah. So when I had to slave for an accounting firm, right, for 2.5 years, which I did. And I enjoyed it because I got really good tax experience. I got really good foreign bank account reporting experience. All of that was really mind-blowing stuff that I got really good at, because I was always open-minded and I was always a learner, a really good learner. And I slaved for an accounting firm for 2.5 years. And then when I got pregnant, I left and I started my own firm. And I started my own firm in 2012 because I wanted to raise my own kids. And I knew that I was going to build my own thing anyway. And so this was just a natural next step. And so for 6 years, while my kids were little, I was kind of building my practice, not a business, a practice, because at that point it was a practice. There was a difference. And so I kind of got to a point where I started getting busier and busier and busier, but then my bank account did not increase proportionately the busier I got. And so I was missing out on opportunities. I was missing out on projects because of that. And so at the same year, it was a pivotal year in my life, 2018, I applied for Intuit. So Intuit is a big company, tech company, right? They make QuickBooks, TurboTax, a couple of other things, professional software for accountants to prepare taxes. And Intuit had this contest called the Firm of the Future. I applied for it. Over 450 firms applied around the world. And my firm was one of the runner-ups in that contest. And it was announced at the end of August, beginning of September that year. So I was one of 15 firms globally to receive an award, and one of 3 firms in the US. And at that time, I was a one-woman show. I was a one-woman accounting firm. So it was a pretty big award to win. And it's sort of, what it did for me. I mean, I won some money. There was a cash prize. My client won some money because in order to apply for that award, I had to describe a situation when I used technology to change a client's business. And so I used my client, I used his real name, his company name, and so he gets some money and I get some money. So that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but it kind of pushed me into this mindset. Well, I would rather say pushed me out of the victim mindset in terms of, traditional accountants are generally taught to get more and more and more clients, and everybody's told the same thing in terms of what to charge. You multiply your hourly rate, whatever it is, by the number of hours it will take you, and that's your price. But that's terrible advice, because we as accountants, we somehow didn't learn how to charge for access to our brain, for the quick questions and the little projects and everything else that comes in beyond preparing your taxes and doing your bookkeeping. And so that kind of pushed me to think, you know what, maybe it's time to invest in myself again. And I've always invested in my own education. I put myself through college. I didn't have any student loans. I always learned something. I get bored quickly. And so I was always learning something, but this time it was different because the 2 programs that I was really interested in, one of them was a very technical training in tax planning, not tax planning, but more tax reduction, proactive tax reduction. And another one that was business coaching that was promising me to work less, make more, and take more time off. Both of them together were about 10% of my annual income. And so at the time, I couldn't afford it, and I turned it down probably about 2 weeks before the award was announced. And 2 months later, in October, I ended up signing up for both. I took out a credit card. I decided to bet on myself and I realized since then that really I'm willing to bet on myself anytime because I'm my best bet. There's nobody else in life that I would bet on. And that really turned me around in terms of not only mindset, but also I stopped giving away my expertise for free. I got a return on investment on that training within 3 months.
Wow.
I said to myself, I'm investing this huge sum of money. I'm investing into myself. I can't let myself have it not work out for me. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to have it work. And so to make it work. And so I did. 3 years from that point, I reduced my client count from basically in half, from 120 to about 50. And I've quadrupled my revenue at the same time. Off season, I typically work a day a week in the business, and that's it. And it allowed me to write a book. It allowed me to get trained as a professional speaker. It allowed me to do a TEDx in the middle of tax season this year. It allowed me to take a trip to Spain for a week and a half with my family because our other family, extended family, came to Spain to exhibit at an expo. And so we took this as an opportunity to see them because we haven't seen them in 15 years. And so all of those things were made possible because I bet on myself. But I think it's important to note that when you bet on yourself, you have to make sure that you do the work, because if you don't, then you're back into the victim mindset. And this happened to me, and this didn't work because the program is bad.
Now that's good. Let's park it right there for right now and expand upon this part about investing, working, betting on yourself, because so many people want to accomplish things, right? They want what you have in terms of tripling your income, decreasing your clients, working less, going on vacations, but they're not willing to invest in what it takes, invest in themselves, and they're not willing to do the work. So let's talk about that a little bit here.
I think it has to do, and this is something I've noticed, when I came to the US, and this is something that may not be comfortable for somebody to hear, but when I came to the US, I got myself into an abusive relationship. I was 19. I didn't know what alcoholics looked or sounded like. So I got myself into one of those, right? It took me 15 years to get over it, to stop looking over my shoulder and all of that. But what's interesting is that in 2019, I believe it was, I went to a conference, and there was a psychologist who was talking about something, but I don't remember anything else. But I remember that she said this phrase that traumatic experiences physically rewire our brain, physically create new neural pathways in our brain, and change us. And so I cried because I realized that I became the go-getter that I am, the self-motivator that I am, because of that traumatic experience. But the thing is that, many of us have traumatic experiences, and sometimes, I really underestimated therapy. Not that I ever considered it, but now that I'm studying psychology, I should have definitely gone into therapy. Maybe it would have taken 3 years as opposed to 15. But I think it's important to not wait for traumatic experiences if you haven't had any, and motivate yourself, because life is short. And I realized also that education that we get, because I've been there, right? Education that we get and don't pay for, we usually don't value. And so for me, investing in education has always been a priority. I always learn something. Like right now it's psychology. Next year, I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe hypnotherapy, whatever. But you have to expand your horizons. And, one of my favorite authors, Mike Michalowicz, he's an author of Profit First, a very well-known book in the entrepreneur world. He says that, and I totally agree with him, he says that you should go to different conferences in different industries, in different areas, and see what they're doing. And then R&D, rip off and duplicate, because you
wait. R&D. I've never heard that one. I've heard about research and development. Right. Okay.
Yeah, but it makes a lot of sense, because when we, and I'm jumping all over a little bit here, but when I worked at a door company, we had a little manufacturing facility where we were making holes in the doors, to be able to put a knob in or whatever. Rookie operators were never cutting their fingers off. Experienced people were, because they stopped looking for new stuff. They stopped looking for updates and all of these different things. And so that's why I think that it's very important to always keep learning. That has been a part of my success. And for me, when I came to the US, I got myself into these situations. I got out of them thanks to random strangers, but it took me a couple of years to be able to go back to college. And when I did, I went all in. And so for me, learning was a scarce resource that I had to fight for. And since then, I always look for opportunity to learn something new, whatever it is, right? And every time I learn something, I apply it. I look for ways to apply to my clients. I look for ways to make my clients' lives better, and in turn, make my life better, make more money, work less, and take more time off. And so that's a really important part of my life, but it came from that traumatic experience that I've had. But why wait for that? Motivate yourself without having to wait for that. A lot of women, and I educate women, I educate teens on financial literacy. I teach skills to women and teens. I teach bookkeeping because it's a great skill to make money on your schedule and on your terms. But the reason I do that is because I see so much of this happening when girls are raised. Well, it also applies to boys, but I think it has to do with parents not knowing how to manage money. But girls somehow get this pass. Oh, you don't have to know it, kind of thing. And then something happens to their spouse, or parents or whatever, and then a woman is lost in life. And so I always advocate to learn these skills, these important life skills. And it goes back to motivating yourself, even if it's maybe not your first choice, maybe it's not your first interest, but motivate yourself, learn new skills so that you can have a life, even if there is a traumatic experience that you have to go through.
So, Tatiana, what I'm hearing you saying is that because of what one of the driving factors and forces to get you to where you are now, it goes back to that dramatic experience, right? And one of our viewers here, Jakai, shout out to Jakai. He says it's back against the wall perspective.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is that I'm very grateful for that experience because, like one of the viewers said, back against the wall experience forced me to move forward. It also changed me. It made me better. It made me not waste a minute of my life not doing something that moves me forward, that propels me forward, right? And it was very powerful for me. Another thing that that's kind of a flip side of that was that for many years I kind of lived looking over my shoulder, kind of not just physically but mentally too. I was always on it. I was always on like an Energizer bunny, looking for to move me closer to my dream, whatever that next dream was. The problem with that was that I really never stopped and enjoyed what I've accomplished. I was always unhappy with myself. I was always trying to figure out what's next before this thing was even over. I mean, I would finish it, but I would be already working on something else next. And so now I have this interesting perspective from a coach of mine. I believe in coaching. I believe that everyone needs a coach. Even coaches need a coach, right? And the reason is that, especially in entrepreneurship, it's really sometimes hard to see a different perspective when you're in it. Sometimes it's really nice to talk things out, to talk things through without somebody trying to solve your problem. Like my husband is my best friend, and it's nice to be able to talk things through with him. The only problem is that he tries to solve it for me. And that's not what I need. I just need somebody to listen, reflect back, and that's it. And that's what a coach does. And this coach of mine, I came to him with this feeling, not unhappiness, but more like I was beating myself up mentally, unhappy with myself. Like, oh, you could have accomplished more. Like, you're 39 years old. You could have accomplished more, right? And he gave me this really cool metaphor or analogy, I guess. In sports, there is this approach. You can play to win, you can play not to lose, or you can play to play. And what that means is, and it took me a while to figure out what I was actually doing. I thought that I was playing to win. And in many ways, I was the first in my class in accounting, got an award in accounting from the accounting department. I had a 4.0 GPA. When I was graduating, I graduated in record time. I was on Dean's List for 2.5 years, all of that jazz, right? But I was never, and I thought that this was playing to win. Playing not to lose is when when I said I was afraid of waste a minute of my life now moving closer to my goal. That's playing not to lose. And it took me a while to realize, and I just realized this a couple of months ago, that I was actually doing both at the same time. But it's no way to live. It's no way to have a happy life. I've accomplished a ton over the last 18 years, 20 years. It's going to be 20 years in America this year. But did I enjoy any of it? I don't know. Probably not at the time, right? I enjoy it now because I've worked with a therapist, I've worked with a coach, but But here's the thing, I'm studying psychology now, and it's a very specific type of psychology. It's called Gestalt therapy. Gestalt therapy is built around emotional responses. And so there is something called a very basic concept in Gestalt that's called the contact cycle. And the contact cycle is basically 4 stages. Number 1 is I want to eat something. The desire is formed. Number 2 is I want to eat an apple. The desire is refined. Number 3, I got my apple from the fridge, washed it, ate it, enjoyed it. I'm at the peak of that experience. And number 4 is savoring the moment when the desire is fulfilled and enjoyed and savored. And what I realized when I was starting to study psychology, that I was passing through that stage 4 like a freight train. Just passing through town, not even noticing anything that I was accomplishing.
Or enjoying it.
Not enjoying it at all. I was just like, oh, great. And people were like, oh my God, you've accomplished so much. And I'd be like, okay, whatever. I could have done more. That's what I was thinking. And it took me a while, to realize that life is not about that at all. In sports or in life, the goal is to play and not keep score. And that's kind of what I focus on now. And, I have an example. My husband is that kind of person. And so seeing him play with kids like there's no tomorrow has been an example for me of what I want to be. He doesn't care about what happens at work. He doesn't care about titles. He doesn't care about managing anybody. He doesn't want to manage anybody. He just wants to shut down the computer and be there for his kids, for me, for our family. And that's really what life is all about. Because when you play to win, somebody else loses. And so that really gave me some cool perspective.
That's good. That's good. Thanks for sharing those examples with us. I know we're getting out of time here, but I want to talk to you about on your left side, my right, you have a book. You're also a best-selling author. So I want you to talk about that and then tell us how can our listeners and viewers get a copy of it.
This book, Dream Bold, Start Smart, Be Your Own Boss, and Make Money Doing What You Love. It was written for someone who wants to start a business but cannot afford to fail. It's a roadmap for a beginner entrepreneur, a rookie entrepreneur, on all things money, numbers, and taxes in plain English. The most frequently asked question I get is, what should I be, an S Corp? Should I be an LLC? But that's like step 7. First, you have to figure out how you're making money, and then we can talk about what type of entity you should be. So this book was published through a hybrid publisher. So it's available on Amazon and all of the retailers, traditional distribution. And it's, if I say so myself, it's a well-written book. I wrote it after I've gone through a workshop that teaches you how to write a book that changes lives, including your own. The book has won 2 awards, Indies Awards, Benjamin Franklin Silver Award last year, and also the Forward Indies one honorable mention award. You can get it on Amazon, and if you do, please leave a review.
Awesome. Great. And we have our 3-year anniversary, our 150 episode, and I think I'm going to get the book, and I am going to add that to our giveaway list for someone.
Awesome. Thanks so much. As an authors really love that when people support them and buy their books, especially the books that we've written ourselves, because there's ghostwritten books and stuff, which there's nothing wrong with, but when you've written a book yourself, it's a labor of love. So thanks so much.
Not a problem. Before you leave, we do something with all of our guests. It's called Rapid Fire. And this is where I ask about 3 or 4, maybe 5 questions. And I want you to respond quickly. And the goal of this is to help our viewers and listeners to know you on a different level, more personal. So let's go. Ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Your favorite movie?
My Life in Ruins with Nia Vardalos.
Okay. favorite vacation place to go?
That's easy. Hawaii.
Hawaii. Wow. Love that. 2 thumbs up. Also, my favorite place too. Our favorite place. Favorite food to eat?
Sushi.
Sushi. Okay. You're the last outside of your book. What is the last book that you read?
I just finished a book called The Psychology of Money. Blown away, completely blown away.
Okay. And lastly, I don't think I asked this, your favorite type of music and secondary musical group or artist?
Favorite type of music when I drive is pop music because I'm ADD and that's how I focus on the road. But I do like to move to the music, so I probably not even when I'm driving, it's probably going to be pop as well. I do like some rock and whatever, but I think my favorite band used to be decades ago, Backstreet Boys.
Okay. Wow. You are going back.
Yeah. I mean, 30 years, maybe.
I'm not sure, but it's way back. It is Throwback Thursday. So
yeah. So Backstreet Boys is a good one. But I think if we're talking today, I really like Janona Boys. They sing different like variations of popular songs, and they make them really cool. So yeah, Janona Boys.
Okay. Last couple of questions for you here, and this is not part of the rapid fire. But if you were to go back, let's say a 20-year-old Tatiana, with what you know now, what would you tell her?
You know what's interesting? I asked this question to my podcast guest, but I've never actually thought about it myself. Oh, isn't it weird? What would I tell my 20-year-old self? I would tell myself to remember to invest in myself and bet on myself, because I had that gap of 6 years. You know, when I became a mom, it was kind of hard in terms of it just was hard for me mentally and physically. I had a lot of support with my husband and my mom, but it was just hard. And I lost myself as a woman, as a human being. I lost myself for a few years. And so it took me 6 years to get out of the victim and say, now's the time and I will not look back. And that's when I invested in my training and all of that. So if I could go back to my 20-year-old self, I would tell her, do it sooner. Do it maybe 3 years into it or 2 years into it or something, but do it sooner.
Great. Last, Tatiana, how can someone get a hold of you if they would like to connect with you?
LinkedIn or Instagram is the best place. I live in both pretty much. My website, tatianatsoir.com. Quick shortcut, talktotatiana.com forwards to that. So you can connect with me through that as well. But LinkedIn or Instagram are great places to chat and communicate with me directly.
And your podcast is listed on your website, or is there another?
Talktotatiana.tv.
Okay.
Is the podcast. I know it makes a lot of sense. .tv and it's audio podcast, but whatever.
But you have it on YouTube too, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, Tatiana, thank you so very much. It's a pleasure chatting with you. You give us some great nuggets, some things to think about, investing in yourself, betting on yourself, making sure that you do the things that you can now, and whatever is best and brings you happiness, then go for it.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so very much, and blessings to you and your family.
Thanks, Patrick, for having me on.
Not a problem. So we've been talking to Tatiana, and she is, again, an award-winning accountant, best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and a business coach. If you want to get a hold of her, we will drop all of her contact information and social in the comments, so make sure that you grab that and buy her book. buy her book. Make sure that you go out to Amazon and get it. If you come back to us on May 25th, we will have one for you because we're going to do some giveaways. So maybe you will be that person to win her book. So want to thank you for being here. Make sure that you join us on next week, where we will continue bringing relevant information to you, our valued guests. And then join us on the 25th, where we will focus and have fun as we celebrate 150 episodes and 3 years of live streaming to you, our viewer and listener. So until then, may God bless you and your family. Be safe. We will see you next week.
And this is this is